I've been thinking a lot about the word equivocation, specifically the logical fallacy equivocation. It's an informal fallacy. All that means is that it doesn't have to do with the structure of the argument, but something else. An equivocation is concerned with definitions, right? The idea that we use a word differently, but assume it has the same definition in two different statements. I'm thinking about that word because I'm reading a lot of news about Elon Musk and the Department of Government efficiency. And it's that word that I keep hinging upon, right? Efficiency. Because in all of the commentary that I've been reading in the New York Times, on Vox, when I was reading The Atlantic, in local news, a lot of people agree that the United States federal government needed an increase in efficiency. However, the current situation demonstrates that I have a very different definition for efficiency than Elon Musk does. Right? First, let me explain equivocation a little bit better. When I was in school getting my philosophy degree and I was in logic class, equivocation came up as one of the important fallacies for us to know about. And one student said, well, what's the problem with a statement like, blue is a color, the sky is blue, therefore the sky is a color. And for a while, our professor had to think about it, right? Because he's like, no, I see what you're saying, right? It doesn't make logical sense, right? Like if we know the truth of the situation, but that does follow the structure of kind of a formal argument. And it comes back to equivocation. Now, if you caught which word is the problem there, you're very intuitive. It's not the word color. Color is being used in the same sense in both places. The word that we're changing the definition of from statement to statement is. Right? When we say blue is a color, we're actually saying blue fits into the category of color. And when we say the sky is blue, we say the sky has the quality of being the color blue. So when we get to the sky is a color, that now doesn't make sense because we've used is in two different ways. Another time this came up in college for me, I was in a discussion group that just talked about, current events and what was going on in the world. And at the time, Silvio Berlusconi was the prime minister of Italy, who was kind of a notorious, creepy old misogynist. And he was known for hiring women and putting them into positions in government just because of the way that they looked, right? Not on the basis of their intelligence, their background. And some of them were, I'm sure, qualified. But a lot of them weren't based on how inefficient his government became. There's that word again, inefficiency. We'll come back to that, though. And when directly confronted about this, Silvio Berlusconi said, what are you talking about? I can't be a misogynist. I love women. And as we're talking about this in this little discussion group, I said, well, that's just equivocation, because the word love there isn't what the person asking the question intends it to mean, right? He's saying, I love women, but we can interpret that as I love that women are young and attractive and I like them being around. I'm attracted to women, not I love women and I hope to take advantage of their expertise and recognize them as full human beings and contributing members of society, right? Those are the big differences. And as soon as I said that, I was really honored because my philosophy professor, who kind of led this discussion group, was like, oh my gosh, that is equivocation, and like got out a pad and wrote that down to use it as an example in his classes. So the equivocation that I'm hung up on right now in this moment in our world is efficiency, right? When I hear the word efficiency, I think, what is the best way to get a result from the initial effort, right? Least amount of resources, least amount of obstacles, but greatest overall impact, right? To me, that's efficiency, right? If I spend $1 trying to help someone and only 10 cents of that dollar gets to that person, I don't think that's very efficient, right? I would rather remove some of those middle pieces so that the person getting the dollar I'm donating has as much of that dollar as possible to use towards the thing that I think they need help with. Elon Musk, from what I've seen in the news and what I've been reading, seems to interpret efficiency more as least amount of cost. And that's it, right? In slashing people from the federal government and in completely removing whole departments wholesale, right? USAID, that's efficiency in the name of economic bottom line, right? A very business efficiency approach. And I'm coming at this from a very, final action, public good approach, right? On what efficiency means. And as I thought about this more, I realized how often equivocation comes up as the center of a lot of issues for political disagreements and for moral disagreements in our society. And I think specifically of the phrase "make America great again," because great is so open to interpretation, right? Anyone can kind of impose or project their own idea of great onto that. And so you get a lot of people under this overall banner of Donald Trump who believe that he's speaking for them because he wants to make America great again, but they're defining what great means, right? And so you do have people who are, I think, struggling working class Americans who want to go back to cheap groceries, who want to go back to a less complicated world. But then you also have white supremacists who think great means let's not have anybody but white people. And that's flat out wrong based on my personal moral beliefs. So overall, I think it's important for us to be aware of equivocation when it pops up, right? And if someone refuses to define a word and relies upon kind of double meanings of a word as part of an argument, they're being disingenuous. And that's a logical fallacy in action, right? Part of what makes a good argument, especially in the realm of philosophy and other academic literary kind of things, is a shared definition, right? You go into it defining all of your terms so that if there is an issue with the definition of a word itself, you and another person can talk about what that should be, right? And once you agree on those definitions, then you have the overall argument. And what I'm seeing from a lot of people is the use of a word so that we, the citizenry, project our ideas and meaning onto it, but then they get to define the word in action because they're the people holding the levers of power. So if you encounter people who use words in that way, be wary of it because you never know how they might try to, trick you in those moments. Thanks.